Okay, this is the Rigor mat. The Rigor mat is focusing on conceptual understanding, procedural fluency, and application, all with this concept or idea of rigor. Now, it first starts off with a problem. How can you, and the problem is either teacher initiated or student initiated, but there's a problem that is given to us. And so a student will now build, show, and know their solution, and that's with the conceptual understanding. And notice over here with concrete, pictorial, abstract, reminders of those ideas. But here's the big focus. Students need to be able to explain with drawings their solutions. Now on the Rigor mat, because it's 2D, all they're doing here is showing, and we're focusing on the pictorial on this side. The build it is a manipulative somewhere else. On the left side, we have explain with numbers. Now students are going to explain with numbers solutions to the problem that they were introduced to. And they have the ability to be flexible in their thinking based on their conceptual understanding. Are they using their mathematics appropriately, accurately, efficiently? We also have these keywords up here of know it, patterns, and strategies. As students are growing in their fluency, they'll be able to employ either their know it, their patterns, or their strategies of fluency in solving the problem. And then finally, students are going to be able to explain with words. What are they explaining? Well, they're reasoning. And what we mean by reasoning is this. When students explain with drawings and numbers back to drawings, this right here is called reasoning. This is what we call reasoning. So when students have explained with numbers and drawings and they have reasoned, now they're in a position to explain with words, whether in written form, verbal, or perhaps video. Next, what we have wrapped around the Rigor mat are the standards of mathematical practices. Now, when we look at the standards of mathematical practices, they border a particular part of the Rigor mat for a purpose. For instance, here's our toolbox, which is about modeling with mathematics and using tools. We need models and tools to build. We need models and tools to build our math, which is why this is really emphasizing SMPs 4 and 5. Over here on the left, this is our patterning world, and we have SMPs 7 and 8, and we have our Rubik's Cube for SMPs 7 and 8, and this is all about using patterns to solve problems. We have patterns. Notice we have patterns right there as well. And big ideas that we discuss with SMP 7 and 8 is that we discover patterns, and we also what? We also name patterns. We also name patterns. All this patterning work helps us understand our procedural fluency. That's why 7 and 8 are over there. For SMPs 2 and 3 at the bottom, SMPs 2 and 3, we had my thinking, or my build it, show it, know it thinking. This was my build it, show it, know it thinking. And SMP number 3 is about our thinking, our feedback. Students in our math classrooms are having rich discussion about their mathematics. What are they discussing? The math that they drew and the math that they have numbers with. And all the while, we have SMPs 1 and 6 that are at the top. We're attending to precision, we're expecting perseverance, and these are overarching habits of mind. So overarching habits of mind are at the top. So the SMPs and the and Rigor work side by side or hand in hand. Our Common Core State Standards is about how we do our math, which is primarily inside with Rigor. How we apply our math is using those Rigor skills to solve problems that have higher DOK levels. So this is the Rigor mat. Now let's take a very practical look at what the Rigor mat's all about. Wyatt buys 5 bags of sugar. Each bag weighs 4 pounds. How many pounds of sugar did Wyatt buy? So this is our word problem. This is our word problem, or we can consider this our application. So this is our word problem or our application. Eventually what we're going to do with this solution is explain our solution with words. So one way to solve this problem might be with equal groups, and this is what we expect for students to be able to draw on their Rigor mat. Maybe an open number line, an array, area model, maybe tables, or drawings. Here's 6 different ways that we can actually solve this problem, all with this big idea is that we can explain with drawings. Next, once we understand our conceptual understanding, we now move to procedural fluency, which is on the left-hand side. When we look at 5 times 4 is 20, 5 multiplied by 4 is 20, this answer needs to be tied with some sort of model over here. That might be the model that those numbers may represent, that the procedural fluency on the left is equating to a drawing on the right. Next, here's another example of 5 times 4 is 20. There might be another model that works well for that particular equation. Here's repeated 4s. Perhaps its open number line is for repeated 4s. Again, it could be any of these models as long as you can explain it. And then maybe a third way. You can see the skip counting happening, and we see skip counting happening with tables too, and so maybe that solution was based on using tables. The big idea is this, is students need to be able to explain with drawings and explain with numbers. The standards of mathematical practices, and I'll show you an example of the student's explanation in words in just a moment. The standards of mathematical practices are wrapped around this student's experience. They should be able to use models and tools to come up with solutions. They should be able to use patterns in their numeral fluency, procedural fluency, to explain with numbers. They need to be able to have the ability to explain their solutions to others, and so that way others can either affirm or ask probing questions, or to be able to critique their reasoning to make sure that that answer makes sense. Because if it makes sense to a student who's the solution may make sense to the student's own thinking, but if it also makes sense to another student's thinking, and that answer is correct, and they probably have a very good way to solve that problem. That's why we need this piece of students exploring their own thinking and also getting feedback from others. So this is about instructional design as well as students are exploring the Rigor map. Now, as we move on, what do we expect students to be able to do? So this is what we expect students to be able to do. We have to respond to this. Wyatt buys 5 bags of sugar. Each bag weighs 4 pounds. How many pounds of sugar did Wyatt buy? We're asking students to explain their solutions in terms of a drawing. We're expecting students to explain their words or their solutions in terms of numbers. And then we also expect our students to give us what is that answer. And so we look at this as drawings, numbers, and answer, or a writing strategy we can use on this is DNA. DNA. So what the students used on the Rigor map, they can transfer over into how they can explain with words. And to be even more explicit, we can look at this. How do we explain with words? We can use our DNA writing strategy. Hey students, please explain your drawing. So by using A, insert your favorite diagram. Here's an open number line. I skipped 4 numbers 5 times. So that's what happened with my drawing. With my numbers, then I added 4 pounds 5 times. So you can see how the student added 4 pounds 5 times. And then finally that answer is this, which is why the answer is 20 pounds. So the Rigor map provides structure for our students' writing response as well.